First of all, I want to thank Josh and Yafa Morvich for opening up their house for the group. The sponsors of tonight's group is are the Morviches, Dorothy Melvin, Celia Katzir, Yehudis Greenberg, Carmen Tellers, and that's it. And everybody who came. So, Shem should bless you that your house should only be used for good things. Amen. On occasion, good things. For people to come and eat, which is the Jewish thing to do. Okay, tonight's topic, believe it or not, is how to like the people we love. Or how to like the people you love. And when you hear that initially, you think, duh, obviously if you love somebody, you like them. But it's not true. You can love somebody and you don't have to like them. So we have to differentiate and understand first to define love versus like. And to see what the difference is between the two and how it's possible to love somebody and not like them, and what we need to do in order to like them, because we have to love them, so we might as well like them too. So, to preface it with a very famous Gemara, the Gemara says that in the days of Sfirat Omer, we know between Pesach and Shavuos, the Gemara says that Rabbi Akiva had 24,000 students, and they all died in the epidemic between Pesach and Shavuos for 33 days. The question, which are the 33 days, if we had different customs in the Omer. But the bottom line is, Rabbi Akiva's 24,000 students died in an epidemic. And the Talmud says why? The Gemara says why? And the Gemara says, Shlei nohagu kaved zeh b'zeh. They did not respect one another. The Rebbe asks, a lot of the commentaries ask, all over the place. It doesn't make sense. Rabbi Akiva was the one that preached, V'yohavta l'reacha kamecha, zeh klal gadol b'Torah. Rabbi Akiva was the one that preached the golden rule, that what it says in the Torah, love your neighbor as yourself. Rabbi Akiva said, zeh klal gadol b'Torah. This is the golden rule. So there's no question that if that Rabbi Akiva held that was the most important rule in Torah, he definitely instilled it within his students. If he instilled it within his students, so why does the Gemara say that they died because they didn't respect one another? So obviously, we must say that they did love each other. But they didn't respect, or in another language, they didn't like each other. They loved each other because love your neighbor as yourself. They were instilled with it. There's no question they worked there. The students of Rabbi Akiva, they were great people. So there's no question that they actually loved everybody, but they still didn't have respect for one another. And the question is, why not? If they loved everybody, so why didn't they respect one another? Doesn't it go hand in hand? Somebody you love, you respect. You don't love them, you don't respect them. You don't respect them, seemingly it means that you don't love them either. But we need to understand the difference between love and respect. Now, come in. We learned already many times that when people ask the question, what is love? And we mentioned this many times. If you ask somebody in the street, what does love mean? What is the definition of love? You will get a million different answers. Because the question is, what is really love? I'll give you an example. Some people say, oh, I love chicken. I love chicken. Let me ask you a question. Somebody you love, you kill and bake and roast and then eat it? Is that what you do to somebody you love? What do you mean you love chicken? So why are you eating the chicken if you love it? You don't shecht it, don't slaughter it, don't cook it, and don't eat it. I love chicken. You don't love chicken, you love yourself. Chicken happened to taste good in your taste buds, so you like yourself. So how do you eat? If chicken tastes good in your taste buds, so I like chicken. You don't like chicken. You don't love chicken. You love yourself. Chicken happens to taste good for yourself. But that's not what love is. Love, Torah says, is very interesting. We mentioned this many times, but I'm going to go off it. The Hebrew word for ahava, for love, is ahava. Aleph, hey, beis, hey. Ahava, which means love. What is the definition? What is the numerical value of ahava? Every letter in Hebrew has a numerical value. Aleph is 1, hey is 5, beis is 2, hey is 5. Altogether it equals 13. Ahava equals 13. The word echad, 1, also equals 13. Aleph is 1, ches is 8, dalet is 4. Together it equals 13. What is the definition of love? The definition of love is actually when you become one with the person you love. You become one with them. In fact, the Torah says this all the way at the beginning of the book, so to speak. When the Torah says, after he created Adam and Chava, after he created Adam and Eve, and he said, it's not good for a man to be alone. He made his wife from spare ribs. He made the wife. That's why spare ribs are so expensive, by the way. And then the pasuk says, Al Kain, therefore, it's not good for man to be alone. Al Kain, the Torah says, Yazav ish es aviv v'simei. A man shall live his parents. V'davak b'ishtay, and cling to his wife. V'hayu lebaser echad, and they become one. The Torah says clearly, what is one? Husband and wife. Rashi comments, how do the husband and wife become one? When they have a child, the child is the unification of the husband and wife, so they become one through the child. But in addition to that, husband and wife become one. What's the definition of love? Anything that you love, you become one with it. I hope you don't love chicken, because I don't want to expect you to become one with chicken. It's pretty degrading. Or somebody says, I love sports. I love boxing. Can you imagine loving two people killing each other? I mean, come on, what is this? Or football getting concussions? You know, that's called love. You don't love. Love is when you become one with somebody. But kavod and respect is just the opposite. Respect is when you realize the differences between you and the other person, and you respect them because of the differences. It's the opposite of love. Love is you become one with them. I don't respect myself. I respect somebody who's different. They have things I don't have. I have things they don't have. And we respect each other because of our differences. If we would be exactly the same, what are you respecting? You respect, your right hand respects the left hand. I mean, it's the same thing. You respect somebody who is not you, and you see certain qualities within them, and that's what you respect. It's nothing to do with love, necessarily. Respect is yira, fear, awe. It's not necessarily love. In fact, as whoever learns Hasidus knows, love and fear are really two opposites. Love is bringing close. Yira, fear, and awe is a little bit of a distance. But respect is because they become one another, and I mean, that's love. And respect is because you have something I don't have, that's why I'm respecting you. You know, every person who has kids, you know, or spouses, you can love your kids and parents, but you don't necessarily respect them. You have cases where children don't respect parents. Spouses don't respect the other spouse. They might love them, but they don't necessarily respect them, because the love is one thing. You love your kids because they're an extension of yourself. But you don't respect them because you don't like what they're doing. You don't like their behavior. You don't like the qualities that they have for whatever reason it may be, and therefore you don't love them. I saw a quote, my wife in fact sent it to me, I wonder why. Two people live together, care for each other, weather the storms together, and one day discover they cannot live without each other. This is love. And that statement ends, you don't fall in love, you create love. You know, in America, everybody falls in love. It lasts for about a week. Or in the world, not only America. I have nothing against America. It's a nice country. Even though they're doing a lot of crazy things, but it's a nice country. You know, they tell a story, a mother sending her kid off to school on the bus. And the mother comes, and before the kid is going on the bus, she's hugging him and kissing him and smothering him. And she says, oh, my honey, my darling, my baby, my the whole thing. It goes on for 20 minutes, kissing, hugging the kid and calling him every name of the book, how much she loves him and everything. And she said, when you come home from school, I'm going to meet you at the bus. Don't worry, I love you, my honey, my baby. He comes home with the bus after school. His mother said, how was your first day in school? He said, guess what? I finally learned I have a name, David. I finally learned I have a name. In other words, no, think about it. It's cute, but think about it. I'm an individual. I have a name. I'm an individual. I'm not you. I have a name. I'm not only an extension of you. I'm not only part of you. I actually have a name. I am a separate entity, which means I have a difference than you. And this is where the important thing comes up. Individuals need to be respected. Even ones that you love. Okay? Most parents love their kids. But a lot of parents don't respect their children. And usually it happens because the kids are not doing what they want them to do. Right? That's normally the reason why parents don't like the kids, so to speak. They love them, but they don't like them because the kids are behaving not the way they want them to do. That's not good. You need to respect your children for what they are. You know, this you find a lot of times when parents are finding a shidduch for their kid. The parents are finding a shidduch that's good for the parents. Instead of finding a boy or girl that's good for the person, for the boy or girl, they're looking for who do I want my son to marry? Right? But it goes both ways, husbands and wives. They find shidduchim for their kids. It's a disaster. They're not interested in the benefit of the kid. They're interested in what's best for me. What type of son-in-law or daughter-in-law do I want to have? That's total lack of respect. Your kid, by the way, let me tell you a little secret. Your kid is not you. Not the boy, not the girl. They're not you. They are separate entities. And even though, and everybody, parent loves a kid, and if not, you're halachically, by the way, halachically and morally crazy. If you halachically, you're not all there. If you don't love your child, it's a natural, instinctive thing that a parent loves a child. But the parent needs to respect the child for what they are. And you need to see the good qualities in the child and respect those good qualities that the child has. You have to see the good qualities that your spouse has. No matter how bad the person is, there's something good there. It might be buried pretty deep, but there is good there. What needs to be done? We need to like the meaning, we need to find the good qualities that our children have, our spouses have, our friends have, whatever has, and be able to find those unique qualities that the person has and like them for that level of the difference, for that unique quality that they have that we don't have. When Torah says a man is a half a body, a half a soul, and a woman is a half a soul, and then they get married, it becomes one complete soul. What the Torah is basically saying like this: there are two different people, two different opposite people, as we all know, becoming one. Now, by the way, in case you didn't know, especially if you're married, you probably don't know, that your wife is not you and the husband is not you. You're different. They're different. Everybody's different. By the laws of the marriage vows that was under the chuppah, or you renew them every 300 years, you renew the vows, it's love. Yeah, maybe you love them. but do you respect them? That's the question. And respect means tolerating them for whom they are, what they are, and where they are. You might not agree with it. In fact, the Rebbe explains with Rabbi Kiva's students, how do you reconcile that Rabbi Kiva taught them to love and yet they didn't respect one another? And the Rebbe explains it very deep and very beautiful and very simple. They loved each other. But they maintained, each student of Rabbi Kiva, that their way of serving God was the best. That's what they honestly maintained. They're holy people. They maintained, because that's why they did it. If they didn't think it was the best way, why are they doing it? So they maintained my way of serving God is the best way. Now, if my way of serving God is the best way, and I love you, then you should be serving God my way too. Because I love you. My way is the best way. I love you. So therefore I have to convince you to serve God my way. And if you don't serve God my way, I don't respect you. And the Rebbe explained that's why they died. They loved each other. But each one thought that their way of serving God was the best way and the only way. And they didn't respect the fact that different ways of serving God. You know, everybody goes to a symphony. I don't think I ever went. But I know what a symphony is. You have many instruments. The more instruments, the merrier, right? There are instruments that are clashing against each other. Clash against each other. What's the beauty of a symphony? Opposite clashing instruments blend together in harmony. That is the beauty of an orchestra. That is the beauty of an orchestra. Not one guitar, one piano, one trumpet. That's not going to cause beauty of music. Or if you have two trumpets, it's not going to cause beauty of music. What's going to cause beauty of music? When you have different instruments that technically clash and opposite of each other, and yet they blend together in harmony. That is the beauty of music. Anybody knows art? You don't have to be a big maven in art. You can't make a beautiful picture with one color. Unless modern art. You take a schmata, throw ink and paint at it and it becomes modern art. But I was sorry for all the artists that I just insulted. I mean modern art artists. What is the beauty of art? The beauty of art is when you have many different colors, and they blend together in harmony. What makes the beauty of the united picture? The differences between the colors, the differences between the instruments. That's what creates actually the beauty of the music and the beauty of art. What creates the beauty of the Jewish people? God could have made all people Chabadniks. Everybody is Chabadniks, they don't know about it yet. But until they know about it. There's Sephardic, Ashkenazic, there's Hasidic, Litvish, this Sephardic, that Sephardic, this, Yemenites, a lot of different musics. They sing different musics. A lot of different ways of serving God. You know something? That is the beauty of Judaism. The beauty of Judaism is that there are so many different ways. Everybody's following the Torah. Those people that are religious are following the Torah. And the beauty of Yiddishkeit is not that there's one type of serving God, that there's many different types of serving God, and together they blend together in harmony. They talk to each other, they look at each other, they can get together with each other. That is the beauty of Yiddishkeit. The beauty of Judaism is the fact that God has so many different ways that we can serve Him with customs and Torah and anything like that. You know, they tell a story. A girl was about to get married, and she never got along with her father. For whatever reason it happens, she never got along with her father. You know, it's a sidetrack for a second. After the Rebbe lost his mother in 1965, a girl came into the Rebbe and said to the Rebbe, you know, I don't get along with my mother. I just don't get along with my mother. And the Rebbe looked at her and became serious and said, you know something? I just lost my mother. The Rebbe said, it was right after his mother, the Rebbe said, Chanan passed away. The Rebbe said, I just lost my mother. And I would give anything in the world to be able to hug her one more time. And you're complaining you don't get along with your mother. Wake up. I have a relative that was working for his father-in-law and he didn't get along with his father-in-law, which I'm not surprised, but he didn't get along with his father-in-law. And he once told the Rebbe, went into the Chiddush, the audience with the Rebbe, and he told the Rebbe, I don't get along with my father-in-law. So the Rebbe smiled and said to him, I'm surprised, I got along with my father-in-law. He said, I got along with with his father-in-law. Why didn't you get along with your father-in-law? Anyway, so this girl wasn't getting along with her father. She was getting married, and she felt, when she gets married, she should get together a little bit. So the week or two before the wedding, she calls up her father and says, let's forget about the past. Let's go for a ride. Let's go for a ride. And this father, whatever the girl did, he contradicted her. Whatever she did was no good. So they decided to go for a ride. So the girl's driving, the father's sitting in the passenger seat, she's sitting obviously in the driver's seat, and they're going along a beautiful road. And the girl, the windows are open, and the girl says to her father, look at this beautiful landscape. Look at this beautiful landscape out there. Look out your window. The father looks out the window and says, ugh, disgusting. It's disgusting. She said, oh my God, forget it. Anyway, she went back home, she got married, whatever. Fast forward 30 years. She came and she told this to a therapist in Israel, a very big therapist. She said, I got married. 30 years later, we decided to go, my husband and I decided to go for a ride. And we went to the same place I went with my father. This time, my husband was driving and I was in the passenger seat. So my husband looks out the window and he says, wow, look a beautiful landscape there is. And I, the girl said, ugh, it's disgusting. And she realized what happened over here. On his side of the road was a beautiful landscape, and on her side was a cesspool, a sewer. And she realized that 30 years ago, when her father said, ugh, it's disgusting, she said the same thing. But instead of understanding the father, why he said it, it's okay, you don't agree with me? Okay, forget it, that's it. It's a very important lesson here. You need to put yourself into somebody else's shoes when you have differences. And respect the person because of the differences. Because that's what completes one another. If a spouse has differences than the other spouse, and they blend together, they handle, they tolerate, and they work together in the differences, that's beauty. Same thing with the kids. You have differences with the kids, work it out. That's called liking them. You might love them, but if you don't respect them because of their differences, it's worthless. Okay. We find an interesting thing in Chumash. By the way, to know the differences, to know differences exist. The Gemara says a very interesting, science woke up a little bit about this lately, that nobody has the same DNA and nobody has the same fingerprints. The Talmud already said this 2,000 years ago. Talmud says God created people that no two people are alike. Ein they same shavis, they don't think alike. Ein par same shafis, they don't look alike. They're nothing. They're very different. No two people are alike. They all look human. They all look very similar, but they're all different. Nobody's exactly the same. Today, no two people have the same DNA. That is the way God made the world. God could have made the world with everybody looking the same. All men looking the same, all women looking the same. I think Shidduchim would be much better that way. Just pick somebody, it's not going to get anybody better or worse. You just pick somebody. And that's it, because that's what they look like. That's it. But God, Hashem made the world that way, that there are differences. And we need to respect the differences, and everybody else needs to respect our differences. It's an interesting thing. When Yitzchak went down to Plishtim, to Gerar, and Avimelech took away Rivka from him. Okay? Paro took away Sarah. Avimelech, the king of Gerar, took away Rivka from Yitzchak. How did Avimelech find out they were married? He said, Vayar, he saw, Vina Yitzchak mitzachek as Rivka ishtei. What the pasuk really means is, Yitzchak had intimacy with Rivka. He happened to see somehow they were having intimacy, so he realized it's his wife, not his sister. But if you look at the expression of the Chumash, it's a very funny expression, mitzachek. Normally for intimacy, there are different words in Torah to use for intimacy. Here the Torah is using the word mitzachek. What does mitzachek mean? Laughing. Tzchek. Laughing, like his name was Yitzchak. Laughing. Excited. What's the Torah teaching us? When do you get excited? When something is changed, when something is new. We just mentioned recently by a class, if you think about it, going on vacation is the most ridiculous thing that ever existed. Think about it. Number one, you're spending a lot of money. Secondly, there's no question that your house is a better place than the vacation place. It's not the same. Trust me, the food in your house is better. Especially if you go to your huppas where you take suitcases of tuna fish. You know what I mean? Think about it. You go on vacation, you spend a lot of money, your house is much better. Ashrei Yeshve V'Secha. Fortunately, the one that lives at home sits in the house. So why do people go on vacation and spend so much money? And then they come back and they need a vacation from the vacation. Because they're so tired packing and flying and this and that. They get what do you need it for? Think about it, it's ridiculous. But why do people do it? Because it's something different. It's a change. It's a change of scenery. It's something different. People like difference. People like not S-O-S-O, same old S, same old. People like new, different things than they had before. Vayar Yitzchak mitzachek es Rivka ishtoi. What did he see in Yitzchak? Mitzachek. They were laughing. When do you laugh? When there's something that comes out like a punchline at the end. When there's something unique, something different is what causes people to laugh. If you hear the same thing over and over, you're not going to laugh. Unless if you're a fool. The world says a fool laughs 3 times. When they hear a joke and everybody laughs, they laugh together with everybody else. The second time they laugh is when they finally get it. And the third time they laugh is when they remind themselves of the joke. So the sages say, it's not in the Gemara, trust me, it's not in the Gemara. But the sages say a fool laughs 3 times. When they hear it, when they get it, and when they remind themselves of it. So they laugh. And this is the uniqueness of Yitzchak and Rivka, husband and wife. Of course they had differences. Think about it. Yitzchak loved Esav. Rivka loved Yaakov. They came from completely different backgrounds. Yitzchak came from Avram. Rivka came from Lavan, idol worshipping. All those people over there, idol worshippers. What was unique about Yitzchak and Rivka? Though they had many differences, they still respected and were able to joke and able to laugh together because of their differences. That's what causes the actual laughter. And generally speaking, we know that laughter can cause somebody either to fight, not laughter, sorry. Differences can cause people to fight or to laugh. They tell a story, a wife once called her husband stupid. He said, you know, it's interesting, I was called crazy many times, I was never called stupid. She laughed, he laughed, and the fight was over. You can have differences. They can unite you through laughter, through mitzachek, through laughter, or they can rip you apart. There's a lady that was speaking at her 50th wedding anniversary. And she gets up and she says, there weren't youngsters, 50th wedding anniversary. Even if there was Rivka married at 3, she was still 53, but it wasn't Rivka. So she gets up at her 50th wedding anniversary and she says, I don't like my husband. She got up to make a toast. She said, I don't like my husband. And she goes to talk about how bad the husband is. And then she says, and the 50 years passed by like 2 days. The 50 years passed by like 2 days. So there was a nudnik in the audience. You know what nudnik is? A nudnik. So he gets up and he says, excuse me, if you married 50 years and you don't like your husband, so how did it go by like 2 days? She said, Tisha B'Av and Yom Kippur. The saddest days in the Jewish calendar. The truth of the matter is, we need the marriage to be 2 days of Purim and Simchas Torah. Purim and Simchas Torah. And coming back to the original point, before we finish up with the inaugural Kovid Zabazah. When a person needs to understand how to like somebody you love, is very simple. See what the other person is unique about. Not love that unites you. That's love. Like is the differences that unite you. And what we need to learn is the differences that our children have with us, our spouses have with us, our parents have with us. And there are differences. You know, there's a generation gap going on big time. You know, between our parents and us, but not that bad. I'm talking about my generation. It was not that much of a generation gap. Between our parents and our children is a big generation gap. And between our children and their children is a massive generation gap. As we all know, you need something on the computer or on your phone, don't ask your kids, ask your grandkids. They know everything and the kids know nothing. Okay? I'm not talking about the old guys that really know nothing. Me. We need to understand, how do you like somebody else? To understand that the differences in another person should not cause me to hate them and dislike them. The differences of another person is something that I need to learn from, respect, and see how can that enhance my life to make it better. So yeah, we don't necessarily like the people we love. But what we need to do is understand that love unites us, like separates us, respect separates us, and makes each one of us unique. And in order to really love somebody properly, you need to respect what separates the two of you. And when you learn to like and to connect those things that separate us, then you like the people you love. Are there any questions? Besides, when is the pizza coming?
I have one question.
Yeah.
איך יעקב אבינו say, אם יהיה אלוהים עמדי, then I will trust him.
There's nothing to do with this.
I know.
No, so 1 minute. Any questions? No question? What?
So you're talking about respect as the core of, to like the person, you have to respect them.
Right.
Okay, so how do you do that? How do you get to that level of respect when you have zero patience and everything's pulling on you and, there's a million responsibilities? How do you sit down to find that respect that you were talking about?
A person that's, what did you say the expression? He's no time for anything, he's right. That person interested, there's an expression in English. Did you ever find a person who's never too busy to tell you how busy they are? A person is never too busy to tell you how busy you are. That person that has no patience and no time for himself, he does have patience or not? Yes.
Hopefully.
If not, he'll probably commit suicide. But he has patience for himself, and he tolerates all his craziness, and all his, like they say in Yiddish, mishigas, all his craziness. Yeah? So we need to understand that what I see in somebody else is really a mirror reflecting me. When I look at somebody else, and I see faults, the Baal Shem Tov said, it's only a mirror reflecting my own faults. But because I love myself so much, love is blinding, And because love is blinding, I do not see my own faults, so God is very kind, and He shows us my faults in you. So when I look at you and see the faults, God is basically saying, the Baal Shem Tov says, I want you to know you have those faults, work on them. Because if you didn't have those faults, you wouldn't see them in somebody else. How does a person learn to have patience? It's a Bechal question. People are impatient today. Nobody has time for anything except themselves. Yeah? I'll give you a simple example. I'm sure this works in every single show. This the men will understand better. They rush through davening, right? They rush through davening. Everybody's in a rush to go to work. All of a sudden, davening's over, and they have time to talk, and they have to schmooze, and they have time to drink a coffee, and they have time to eat breakfast in shul, and hack a Chinese with everybody. And yet, you tell them, why are you davening so fast? You kidding? I have to be at work. Yeah. How many times? You don't find that? Every shul? I know in our shul we got plenty of that. In every shul that exists. What do you mean? How do you learn to have patience? First of all, I'm talking figurative, not literally. You don't have patience, take your head, bang it against the wall. I'm serious. And say, you know what? I better get patience. Because let me ask you a question. If you have no patience for anybody, you want and expect people to have patience for you? If a guy has no patience for his wife, why should the wife have patience for the husband? You know what happens? No dinners. I have no patience to make dinner. Yeah? That happens. Because the husband has no patience for the wife. Because he thinks she does nothing the whole day. And the wife thinks the husband does nothing the whole day. I said this scenario in previous talks. A picture the following scenario. And this really ties into what we spoke tonight. The husband has a sugar crazy day at work. Everything goes wrong. Everything goes wrong in work. He's about to come home from work and he says to himself, I had a rotten day. She better, when I come home, she better have dinner on the table. And she better be nice. And she better be because I had a rotten day at work. It happens. The wife, on the other hand, had a house full of kids. And as we know, it could be more than one handful. And she has a crazy day. This kid's throwing up, and this kid's sick, and this broke, and that broke, and everything's going wrong. And she says to herself, when he comes home today, he better bring me flowers. He better say something nice to me. He better, and you can open it, what imagines when they open the door. Okay? World War III. The proper way of husbands and wives thinking, or friends, or children and parents, whatever, it doesn't matter. You think to yourself, you know, they probably had a difficult day. I should be nice when I come home. And the other one should say, you know, they probably had a tough day at work. I should be nice when he comes home, or she comes home, whatever, it doesn't matter. They tell a story, a husband once came home from work, and he parks in the garage, and he comes into the house, and he sees a crazy house. Everything's all over the place. The kids are running around, yelling and screaming. Dinner is not put up. Nothing, and he comes into the bedroom, his wife's laying in bed reading a book. So the husband says to the wife, what in the world is going on here? So she said to him the following, you know, every day you come home, you say, what did you already do today? Today I didn't do what I always do. So today I didn't do what I always do. The problem is, that's exactly what we're talking about. We don't respect the spouse for what they're doing. We only care about ourselves. But they're different. They have a different job than us. Friends have different jobs. Parents and teachers parents and students and children have different jobs. But you need to respect. You know, a good teacher respects the students. A good teacher respects the student. That doesn't mean the teacher stands up when the kid walks into the room. I'm not talking about that respect. That you're not allowed to do. The kid has to stand up when the teacher walks into the room. But respects mean you understand what they're going through and to respect the difficulties and the challenges they have, and you deal with it. How do you get patience? I wouldn't tell you to go to a therapist, because then you'll need patience going to the therapist. It's something that God gave us, so we have to work on it. We have to work on it. You know, marriages need to be worked on. Relationships need to be worked on. Parents and children doesn't happen automatically. Parents need to work on dealing with the children. Children need to deal, obviously when they get older. Children need to deal how to get along with the parents and what I could do for the parents. That's what goes on. But the difference is really what causes us to respect one another and to like one another. And then the love is complete. Any other questions?
Yeah.
What?
What if you have patience for her, she still doesn't cook?
I better be careful what I answer. Obviously. The question was, what happens if you have patience and she still doesn't cook? So I said I have to be careful what I answer.
It's the mirror.
The truth is...
That was a joke, Rabbi.
No, but it's not a joke. The problem is it's not a joke.
Did you find out why she didn't cook?
Oh, it doesn't. You're so smart. You have to find out. No, this happens, by the way. This
Now
happens.
within striking range.
The question is, you need to find out why they're not cooking. And you need to be honest. And if a wife says, I didn't cook because I had to take the kid to the doctor, and I had A, B, C, D, and therefore I couldn't cook, you appreciate it. And you say, I understand. No problem.
I'll cook dinner. When does he ever get to say that?
I'll get takeout.
We'll get takeout.
Yeah, let's be solution.
But you know what?
oriented.
Solution oriented is not the husband should make dinner, because
Yeah,
it depends.
once in a while it's...
It depends. I gotta tell you something. One time, 35 years ago, maybe more, my wife was out of town. Okay, and I made the Charlton show. There was a small crowd in Shul. The chon was given out. Nobody was able to eat it. It wasn't edible. So that husband, you don't want to cook. I'll tell you what Bachim in yeshiva learned two things. Rebbe's getting on the tape. No. Okay, but shh. What Bachim in yeshiva boys learn how to do two things for survival. They learn how to make fried eggs, and they know how to sew in a button. That's it. That's where it starts, and that's where it ends. Some men, by the way, some husbands cook better than the wives. It's true. It's not. It doesn't mean you're better or worse. Some people have a knack in cooking. Some people don't have it. It doesn't matter you're male or female. So that's what it is. But if there's a problem, she's not cooking, instead of yelling and screaming, why didn't you cook me dinner? Why isn't my dinner ready? Why do I have to wait? Find out first what happened. And I'll tell you the truth. Even if they have no excuse, I was lazy. Yeah? They sometimes could say that also. You say, no problem. We'll have takeout. That's it. Why do you have to exaggerate the problem? Why do you have to make it worse when you can cut it? Like the person, understand they don't want to, and go buy takeout. That's called liking, by the way. That's not loving, that's liking. Pizza's here?
Yeah.
Okay, so everybody's invited to go take some pizza.